Thanks for having me along here. It's not something I probably would have done a year ago because it was a failing of mine that I didn't understand the role of IT correctly in what we're trying to do. I lead the Renewal program, and for those who don't know, that's where we're trying to change almost everything we do in the state government, to improve it, not just change it, but to improve it, so we can provide much better customer service than we have historically. And by the way, we need to. Historically, we haven't been providing very good customer service. I didn't really understand the role of or the significance of IT in that job. 2 years ago, maybe a year ago, I was kind of starting to get it, but now I get it big time. We have been spectacularly unsuccessful at getting through some big major reforms in IT in government over the last couple of years. Spectacularly unsuccessful. We have got through a lot of great reforms, tremendous reforms. Health system now functions. Trains now run on time. Policing, we've got crime down. We've got all the major things are happening. We've got better results in schools. All the major things are sort of happening almost despite major IT reform not having happened. But that can't be so for the next few years. It cannot be so for the next few years. The next few years is absolutely dependent on the people in this room and the people in this department to sit here. If we're going to take the next quantum leap in terms of customer service, then we need everyone's help. And we need to do much better. We need to think of things from the customer's perspective. I'm sure you've all heard about our values, the first of which is customer first. And we mean it. We've got to think of things from the customer's perspective. We cannot think of things from a system perspective. It's got to be the view of the customer and how easy or not it is for them to interact with us. And this is a fundamental change for government because, quite frankly, it was process first or bureaucracy first. In some places it still is, but we're changing that. It's got to be customer first. And that's what I talk to our staff all over the state about this. And, it's a hard job to change cultures. You know it in your own businesses. It's hard to change culture, isn't it, in your employees? We've got 220,000 of them. It's really hard to change culture in 220,000 staff, but we're well and truly on the journey. Well and truly on the journey. There are common drivers for reform right around the country. Every state is facing these things. We've got a forecast decline in revenue growth over the next decade. Big structural problems in the way that governments raise revenue and our expenses. Largely driven by the ageing of the population. Not just the fact that people are getting older, of course, but they're living longer, which is great. I want to live to 1 million. We all want to live to be 1 million, don't we? Every single one of us. But it causes a big structural problem in our the way we finance governments. We only really pay tax until we're 60, on average, from about the time that we're 20, 25 through to 60, 35 years maybe. If you're a female, you have time off for children, or you take some extended break during the middle of that, maybe less. How do we fund governments when a child born today, a female child born today, is expected to live to be over 105 in Australia? On average, over 105. How do we fund that? How do we fund it now when life expectancy is expected to be, growing by 1 year every 6 years? It's a really significant problem. The costs of healthcare are going through the roof. Because the longer you live, the more health services you consume. And governments have got to try and find a way to do that. So we've got the ageing of the population increasing the demand for public services. At the very same time, it's reducing our income. So you've got this sort of pincer movement happening on governments. We've got the ageing of the public service workforce and the intention to retire. Look at most of us who are from the public service. We've all got grey hair. We're baby boomers and the clock's ticking. A third of our workforce are intending to retire in the next 5 to 7 years. A third of our workforce is intending to retire in the next 5 to 7 years. And they can. They'll probably follow it through because superannuation for state government employees is very generous. So they can afford to retire. But it causes an issue. Do we just try and replace those staff? And the truth is, the labour market will be very tight in 4 or 5 years' time. It's not a problem right now, but forecast your mind forward 4 or 5 years and every economist in the land will tell you that the labour market's going to be very tight. Or do we find more innovative ways of delivering services that don't require as many staff? And of course, on the positive side, digital technology has the potential to drive a new wave of service delivery improvement. And we have not even begun to really harness this. And this is what I'm talking about, and this is why I'm here talking to you, because I now understand. I have been converted on the road to Damascus, or maybe Brisbane. This is absolutely critical to us as a state government to deliver much better services. I spoke about our values, but it's important that you understand them because it's the frame through which we see everything. Customers first, I've spoken about. Ideas into action. We're really trying to generate... we have great staff and we have great partners who come up with great ideas, but you know what? We've been stopping a lot of them. We've been, they haven't been able to percolate up. And we've been finding reasons to say no, and we've got to stop that, and that's why that value is there. Unleash potential. We have enormous potential within and without, but we have, again, been subduing it and not allowing it to rise to the top. Be courageous is probably, in my view, the most important one. I also put this another way. I say fail fast and fail cheap. I don't want us to set out to fail, but I want us to try new things, and it's okay if you do fail. And that has been very much the case for the last 2 years in the state government. Nobody has lost their job through trying something new that didn't work. Nobody. It is encouraged, and not only is it encouraged, it's expected. Empower people. This is about us, authorising our people to go ahead and do creative things without having to ask for permission. And within my own department, I've got some great examples of that. Renewal has got to be continuous. It can't be this one big bang and then it's all over. We've got to keep going. We ask ourselves 3 fundamental questions. Who are your customers? What are the services they need now and into the future? Into the future is really where you guys come in. And how are those services best delivered? I've been trying really to get my head around all of this. I've been to the Google atmosphere. In fact, I've got one of the senior people from Google Australia coming to talk to all of my staff in a month's time. I'm going to the Gartner Symposium, and I've been engaging with Gartner, and I've also been having coffee chats with some of the people in this room off to the side, trying to understand the future bit. Where are we going? Where do we need to be in 5 years? Because I'm sick of talking about where do we need to be now. Because by the time we solve that, it'll be 5 years. I want to know where I need to be in 5 years. So we've had some successes in ICT. As I said earlier, I'm not going to pretend that I think we've had anywhere near enough. But it is great that during G20 our police officers can use their iPads and iPhones and get amazing information over them, including live video from all of the CitySafe cameras. They can access most of their systems from there in a mobile way. And a year ago, none of that was possible. In fact, police IT had been appalling for a very long time, and much of it still is, but we'll get there. You probably know about this, the Queensland Globe. This is a big demonstration project at G20, and in fact up at the Cube at QUT there's an amazing display centre. The biggest benefits for this are coming to productivity in the private sector. Every lawyer I talk to in town loves this because they don't have to leave their office when they're dealing with transactions to do with land in Queensland. So anything they need to know about land, they can get in one place, and often for free. In fact, usually for free. You can see the testimony there from Blackstone lawyers. A 1 and a 1.5 hour process has been reduced to 15 minutes. That's adding productivity to the private sector, and that's what we need to do. We need to be competitive. We need to be adding productivity, and that's a lot of what we've got to think about, is how do we enable other people. I love Little IT. Little IT is brilliant. It improves productivity massively for relatively low cost. Relatively low cost. I think the average cost of a app for us is about $35,000. It's great. I don't even, it doesn't really matter if they don't work at $35,000. It really doesn't matter. But we are, of course, we want them to work. Don't want you going away and saying, oh, he doesn't really care if they work. I do care, but what I want is us to provide great services to the people of Queensland through apps. My background is not IT, as you can see, because I couldn't even get my Prezi thing up. But my phones are littered with apps. You can tell a lot about me by reading the apps on my phones. I won't read them out because it's a bit embarrassing. You find quite a few bookmaker apps on there. But that's the way people live today. Our phones are personal service devices. I hardly make a phone call on them. I use the apps constantly. These are just some of the apps that we've got pushing out, but that are already out there. But we've got a massive amount of apps that are in train now that are going to be delivered over the next few months, and we're hoping for 100 by the end of the year. 100 apps. And the take-up rate is enormous when we put these things out. There's one, Queensland Fishing, you can see up there. I'm not a fisherman, but I've got two sons that are fishermen, and they absolutely love it. If you are a fisherman, you want this app because you can, pick the species and look at the photo to make sure whatever it is you caught is that species, or find the one it is. It tells you what the bag limit is and how long they've got to be. Apparently the size counts when it comes to fish. And, and some details about when they breed and all that sort of stuff, a bit of detail about it. The download rate for that's enormous. Like, people love that app. And we don't make any money out of it. We're a government. We're not in it to make money. It's great service to people when they're out fishing that they can get this information, whereas previously they didn't have it. And we're going to get, what we will get out of it is better compliance, because people will be able to make better judgments about, whether or not they're complying with the law. And things like that are tremendous. We got an internal app in the Department of Premier and Cabinet that my staff made, and it's a great thing that I use every day, and there's a lot more internal apps. You can see the ambulance field reference guide. It's when the ambos are out doing their work, great paramedics doing their work, and they need to be able to have a look at, they can, I think, it's like tick a box type of thing for the symptoms that the patient's got, and it'll, bring up some drugs that they might be able to give them, or prompt them to help them make better decisions. So not all apps are external for us. They've got to be internal as well. And there's many more than that, but they're just a snapshot. So we're doing a lot of change, and change is really hard, but the great news is that people are really good at change. We've been doing it for a hell of a long time. Charles Darwin says, in the long history of humankind, those who learn to collaborate and improvise most effectively have prevailed. And that's what this is all about. Learn to collaborate and improvise most effectively have prevailed. I want to prevail. I want to be one of those people that prevails, because I want to collaborate, and to do it I need to collaborate and I need to improvise. I've got it. I don't need to tell you that technology has changed. I came into the workforce when there was green screens, and there was only one on our floor, and nobody knew how to use it. But we've all got Surface tablets in our department these days, and quite frankly, we see technology as an enabler. Behaviours have changed too. When I first started working in the public service, I was a smoker, and that was okay because you could smoke on the 24th floor of the State Law building. It was fine. I had a state government ashtray. It said, Queensland government around the rim of it, and it was on your desk. I thought when they changed that and stopped the smoking at work, I thought it was the end of productivity as we knew it. No one would ever get any work done because everyone would be outside smoking. Of course, we all gave up smoking, which is a good thing. But behaviours have changed very substantially over time, and sometimes we forget that. Change is natural and change is progress. Socrates, who was, for those of you who can't remember back to your high school history, was around 2,500 years ago, so not just quite yesterday, said, "The secret of change is to focus all of your energy not on fighting the old, but on building the new." It's amazing he said that 2,500 years ago. We think of change as being a contemporary thing. It's not. Charles Darwin again said, "It's not the strongest of the species that survives, nor the most intelligent. It is the one that is most adaptable to change." And of course, Barack Obama, and apologies to Barack Obama because I can never say this as well as he does. Change will not come if we wait for some other person or some other time. We are the ones we've been waiting for. We are the change that we seek. That's what I'm about. I'm about creating a better place for Queenslanders to live and do business, and I need your help. So partnerships are the key to renewal. Looking for innovative ways of responding to challenges, partnering where the resulting project is unique and provides better value for money, working together to deliver for Queenslanders. That's what my renewal program is about. Thank you for inviting me along. Hope you enjoy your morning.